Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
It's already on. It's going.
All right, guys, welcome to Trace Amigos, episode 2510. And so today we're going to do things a little different. We're going to talk about the defense first. We usually talk about the offense, but there's a lot more things that we can talk about and probably, need to be fixed. And look, I hope everybody knows that listen to this, in no way are we bashing Elko or any of the defensive coaches at all. I think if you've watched our podcast, you know how complimentary we are of those coaches, and I'm sure they're way ahead of what we're talking about. And there's been plenty of conversations already had. We're just going to break down the film so you can see what coaches see. But first, I want to thank everybody. I can't believe how much this is growing and how much people seem to appreciate and like what we do. So I sure appreciate it. Last week, we added over 200 subscribers to our YouTube channel, and our episode was viewed over 2,300 times. Cannot thank y'all enough. Just if you would, please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love the interaction. We love the comments from people that watch and listen to our podcast. So if you'll continue to subscribe and do all that and share it, like Seth said last week, send it in a group text to your buddies. And you got some, we got a late game on Saturday. You got something you want to watch pregame. This be a great episode to watch. And so share it with your friends, and we sure appreciate you listening. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the good and bad and ugly of the defense against Arkansas. And since I usually stay on the offensive side of things, I'm going to kick this over to Mark, and I think Seth's got some stuff to add, and I might chime in here or there because some of our stuff was pretty easy to see even from an offensive guy. So go ahead, Mark.
I mean, the good, if I watch it, there were some big sacks, especially late. Brooks had a big sack. I mean, we did some really good things. The problem was we would do something really good, and then the bad and the ugly would show up. But we had some good stuff that we got Green, and he got himself in a lot of trouble with his scrambling and going deep, and we would hit him for a big 14, 15-yard loss. And we even did that a little bit down the stretch at times. But that's about all I got. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of good. As good as the last 2 weeks were before,
Yeah.
there was not a lot of good.
No.
So I would say the good is play.
Well, I think Elko would agree with you because if you watch the press conference, he refused to give out any defensive awards.
And so the bad is, so the good being those sacks and in good spots. The bad, and God, it's hard to pick which one is bad and which one is ugly because the bad is ugly. So I don't know which is worse, but I would say our ability on first and second down, I talked about last week that where we had been so good is we had been so good on first and second down, and we were not as good on first and second down. Our third down numbers weren't as bad. They weren't terrible, but our first and second downs were so bad that's where we gave up a lot of stuff. And so our bad would be how we performed on first and second down. And then the ugly is something that we've been talking about now for 2 years, the last year and this year, is our run fits were terrible. And it's always one guy, or maybe it's one or two guys. And so we had some pretty bad run fits. And I know, Seth, you put some clips up. If you want to go through those, we can start looking at run fit. So
Yeah. So this one of the clips I have here is off one of their first explosive run of the game, and you have let Mark take over and kind of explain how this is all supposed to fit up. And their weapons on offense just create such a small margin of error.
The left tackle or the nose, he's going to be the guy that's going to get a double team. What happens is as he fits the double team up, the center is able to knock him off his feet. And that pushes him into the B gap, which is the safety's responsibility, who's coming down, which is Ratcliffe. He's doing a phenomenal job. So then Scooby is a B gap player on the play side. The center gets on him easy because of how well they took care of the nose on the zone and how the nose knocked him off. The safety is actually making that tackle correct. Even though the tackle gets bumped into B gap, the safety's going to make him right. What happens is Scooby should say he should stay in his gap and he should have triggered. He does good footwork right there at the start, and then he should come downhill right now when he sees the handoff. And then he ends up peeking back into A gap. So we end up with a safety in A gap, a linebacker in A gap, and nobody in B gap. Our other tackle gets washed hard, which is not good. He tries, but he gets washed too hard. It's kind of a, what do we used to call that? It's a false read. They show zone, but he ends up getting a base. He doesn't do good against the base, and then just it's a wide open situation. And you can go to that next slide, Seth, and it kind of, the screenshot points it out. So if you look at the screenshot,
Yep. That's exactly right.
well, if you look at the screenshot, the tackle has been washed out of his gap and is on his knees because of the chip from the center. But the safety where you have him drawn, that's really not his gap. He's really a B gap player, but he is going to make him right and fill that A gap for him. If Scooby will take his B gap and press it, he needs to press the center shoulder. He needs to get what I used to talk to my defensive tackles about. You need to get hip to hip with this center right now. That puts the center in a bind because the center thinks I'm going to square him up. But if you'll get hip to hip with him, you're gonna make the back cut back to A gap, and the safety's gonna clean him up. Instead, Scooby waits. He gets a head up block, and then he starts to peek back inside. Now he's peeked back inside. We have two in A gap. We have nobody in a really wide B gap because our other tackles gotten a wash so far. Our defensive ends did a pretty good job. If you can see how close our defensive end and our tackle are here on the right side, that's because of that nose tackle getting washed so far. And it's just a wide open hole. I could gain 12 yards right now. I'm going to slide before somebody hits me, but I could gain 12 yards right now. As slow as I am at 55, and I ran a 4.540 in high school, and I probably run a 6.2 right now at best, but I still could get 12 yards just because we did. This is base defense. I did not like this package. This was a nickel package that we put in because of their passing game and all that Petrino does. We left Scooby in the box by himself. He hadn't played in a few weeks, every play. And the rust showed, and this was a bad package. I think they scrap it later and we get more back to York and Sanford being in the box, and we do a better job on the run, and they eat us up with crossing routes and scramble. So
yeah,
run fits were ugly.
Yeah, and I got one for you here. We talk about, players, we talk about development, right? And I think anybody who's gotten any better at anything, your development curve is not linear. It's not straight up or straight down or whatever.
Unfortunately not.
Right. You will have setbacks along the way. And this is something we had seen, Scooby do. This was the Scooby do on the very first play of the half against UTSA back in week 1, that peak, and that is not, he's not got a bad heart wanting to do that. That's a guy just trying to make a play, but that's why it's so important. Sometimes when you get in games as players and you try to do too much, these things it comes from a good place, but too much leads to a bad outcome sometimes, especially on defense. That's where, trying to do too much on offense is something too. We've watched the Vandy film, and I'm going to tell you right now, Pavia pulls the ball more than he should. It's from a good place because he's a playmaker. But there's several times, not several, I might be overstated. There's at least 2 or 3 times that had Weeks playing that gap exchange technique, and he's just sitting there squatted asking Pavia, please pull this and run to me so I can tackle you, and he did it. And so now there's one time he put Weeks in a blender too, but it comes from a place of just trying to do too much sometimes as well. Well, Mark, you want to move on to the next?
It's like in baseball, because I coached baseball for years, and we always said hard ground balls lead to line drives. Line drives lead to home runs. And you know what home runs lead to? Strikeouts. And so Scooby's made a bunch of plays. He's a playmaker guy. And sometimes when you're a playmaker and you want to make the play, and sometimes it's just about fitting your gap and letting your buddy make the play. It's you're if you're
Well, and you also got to understand in Scooby's position right now, and I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody, but he's been kind of replaced by Sanford because of how well Sanford's playing. So now you get a chance to get back out on the field. You feel like
Sure.
I got to make this play. If
Right.
not, then I'm gonna lose my
Well,
spot.
and he
here.
knows
And
he knows
so-
that's his package. They put that in on Tuesday or installed it on Monday night, and he's fired up like this is me. This is centered around me. I mean, there's a psychology to all this as well. As I mean, X's and O's and everything, but like he's standing in that box by himself, and he's thinking, I got to make this tackle. Like I got to make this tackle. So
Yeah.
anyway, it makes a lot of sense if you think of it from that perspective as well. I got the next clip here with a Stanford run fit. That's
so if you look at there's two things that happen on it that cause this. So this is split flow zone, and I'll just tell you we're going to get this again with LSU, although they do it a little bit more base style. But split flow is something that everybody does. It was Arkansas's #1 run play. It's what, if you broke down their film, hey, we're going to get a ton of split flow zone. So split flow zone is the line are all going to go to the right, and the tight end is dragging across the backside to kick out this end. Now this end waits on it and catches. That's the first mistake. That end needs to close. As soon as he gets a non-aggressive, he should start closing the distance between him and the tight end. He doesn't do that. Then Sanford's job is to scrape over and play that gap, which he does, and he overplays it. He should come. We used to tell our linebackers, okay, right here, they all zone. You see the split flow. You need to be tight off piles. It needs to be right off the butt of that guard that's washing our freaking nose 5 down. He needs to be tight off his butt, and he makes the play. But two things. The end sold him out by not closing ground on the tight end coming across, and then he was too wide. But here, you think about this. Whose fault is it? Because if the end closes the gap and Sanford scrapes over the top of that and he would end up outside the end where he's thinking about right now. And so you can say, well, gosh dang it, Sanford killed us there.
True.
No,
That's
if
true.
I'm a coach, I'm pissed off at 15. I'm mad at the end. Why are you not closing the ground? And you know why he's not closing the ground? Here's the other thing you talk about. He's worried about the quarterback pull. So it's a lot of it is scheme. The reason he slow plays it, he's so worried that Green's going to pull it and get outside of him. He slow plays the kick out. So Sanford's got to be tied off piles knowing that he's got all the inside stuff. So, York is right. Everybody on the D-line is right. Two guys, I don't know. Look, I'm not in the room every day. I don't know what they told the end. Did they tell the end, look, when that guy comes to kick you, you hold your ground and box it so you can play quarterback? And if that's the case, then you have to tell Sanford, you need to be tied off piles. But if you're saying, hey, we're going to go close the ground and we're going to cut that guy off and we'll let Sanford scrape over the top and play quarterback and running back that bounces, then it's Sanford's fault. So we're not in there every day. We don't know. But two guys mess it up and we get gashed. Two guys. Everybody on the defense played that right.
That's the problem with the defense, brother. All it takes is one. It's the same thing on offense. You can have a run play
82%.
blocked up perfectly, and the guard whiffs, and all of a sudden it's a 3-yard loss. It's that's the one great thing about this sport is it's a true team sport.
Of 11 quotes that I quote, if I sell 9, I'm a champion. I'm on the leaderboard at Rollo. I mean, But in football, we're firing coaches.
That's true.
We're mad as
That's
all
true.
get out.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I wanted to bring up this. Go ahead.
I'm with you, but I don't feel real bad for Franklin or Napier because they're not going to be hurting for a while there, Mark. I mean,
that's true.
Us three, if we got fired as a high school coach, that would stink. We don't have but those buyouts are a pretty good deal for those head coaches. Now, the assistant coaches and support staff, it's probably not good for, but.
Not to get off on too much of an aside, but some of these schools are gonna wind up worse off. I mean, a lot of them are in this carousel.
Franklin, who are they going to get better than Franklin that they had? Unless Nick Saban's going to come up there, who? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. I would be interested to see for sure. But the next one I wanted to bring up and let Mark break it down too. But I want to take it from an offensive standpoint because we've talked about this on the podcast that, look, Bobby Petrino has probably watched more film than this podcast combined times 10 in his life and game plans, and so he found something against us that he could use whenever he knew he could get Cassius in coverage, which we do quite often because we like to use Cassius in coverage, get the man side and overload the man side, and we did it. But he also knows that Cassius does not do a very good job of walling the seam. And if you watch Game Day on Saturday morning, Nick Saban talked about this at length about walling the seam, right? And so I got the clip here to put up. And he used this against us twice. This first one was on third down. It was 3rd and 9, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. Big third down conversion in the red zone. And Mark, I'll let you take over. How would you coach or approach that look right there?
We're bringing a blitz. And so in the blitz package, let's talk to us about A&M's, what we've seen. Number one, we have seen this scheme, bringing this blitz, dropping Cassius out because everybody has been turning their protection to Cassius. And that has freed us up on the blitz. But every time we've done it, it's been to a one receiver side. Petrino was smart enough to know if they bring the blitz, I'm going to give Cassius 2 receivers. The rule here and the way this is taught in a clinic is we're going to let our defensive end drop into coverage, and he is going to be a flat to curl player on a one receiver side, allowing the deep safety to drop in the third and take the vertical, and he just helps us out underneath. For when we played Auburn, all he had to do was make it cloudy, and that guy wouldn't throw it. Petrino's very smart. He gives him a 2 receiver side, so this makes him a wall to curl, not flat to curl. He's got to wall it. The only way to do this is to check out of it some way and get Cassius out of a bad situation to a 2 receiver side and pass it off somehow. Hey, we're going to pass this coverage off to a linebacker who's used to playing wall to curl.
Right.
If I'm coaching this and I know I've got deep thirds and now I've got empty, I'm going to say, here's what we're going to do in empty. We're going to play our third coverage at the top of the screen, but we're going to play what we call 2 carry down here. We're going to let the corner be the cover 2 safety, and we're going to let whoever takes the inside receiver is going to play a carry, which means any vertical or out cut, I carry it. I'm man-to-man on him. If he cuts across my face, I'm going to let him go to that other coverage over there. That's the best plan. So right here, you don't know it on film, but if we're bringing this blitz, Cassius, and we have 2, you're a carry technique. If he goes vertical, you got him. Stay with him. Just stay with him. You're gonna end up underneath him and let that corner stay over the top of that outside number 1. If he breaks out to the flat, you're going to carry him and you're going to cover him because that's what you do. And then that takes that away. Instead, Cassius is working to the flat just like he would. He looks like a spot dropper. Could he have got a better redirect? Absolutely. But you can't ask a guy who is sacking a quarterback to get really good at carry. You can't ask him to be real good at redirects. I would say it's empty. We better have an automatic check to empty to make sure everything is covered. And we probably go kill, and let Cassius rush the quarterback and let somebody else carry that and play a different coverage to the 2 receiver side. If it's me, I'm playing quarters up top. It's quarter halves is what I'm playing. I'm quarters to the top. I'm halves to the backside, or I'll play my palms or my quarters look with palms on the 3 receiver side. But I'm going to play a carry. We did it all the time at Carthage. We played palms to the 3 receiver side, and we carried the backside so that way it gives us another safety if that number 2 goes vertical and the other safety is occupied. You got a guy carrying him vertical. And so you're going to carry him vertical and you're going to carry him to the flat. He's yours. And that's what I would have checked to.
Yes.
But again, I'm looking after the fact. And I'm not ever going to ask I'm never going to ask a defensive end to play 2 carry. I coached in high school. I had a guy that went to Texas and played linebacker. He could not play carry. We could not call it. We could call every version of cover 2 you ever thought of, but he was not smart enough, or he just couldn't get it. I don't want to say he wasn't smart enough because he's a smart dude, but he just couldn't get it. Then a couple of years later, we had the kid that's Oklahoma now, and when he was a sophomore, he could play 2 carry. going into his sophomore year. Never played a varsity snap. And we were doing it in summer, and I go, what are we playing here? He goes, we're playing 2 carries. I said, what does that mean? I didn't think he had any ability to answer it. He could answer it, but linebackers can do it. You can't ask a defensive end to rush a passer, contain the quarterback, fit the run up, run stunts. Oh, and also we need you to be able to play the flat if we drop you. Oh, but we also have a version of carry. We want you to carry him. Oh, and we're going to run this coverage on the backside. We need you to no, that's too hard. So we put the kid in a bad spot here, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that. Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I mean, honestly, like we know that, I mean, when it comes to if Elko had his druthers of man versus zone, he's a man guy at heart. And but Taylon Green's legs makes you gun shy to call man in that situation. It's a combination of like Green's legs are a cheat code. We all know that, but here's how it does it schematically. Not just because we see him, run and go, well, no, duh, he's a cheat code. But I'm talking about how it changes your schemes and how you call defense, because that's the primary read in that 6-man pressure. And if he has to go off that read, he's sacked. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
and so
he could have probably thrown that little crossing route underneath, but that would have been, he'd have been sacked at that point. So
and that's what we were talking about earlier on that split zone. Did you teach him to box, or, because you're worried about that quarterback pulling? So in saying all that,
and
I just want to say, thank goodness LSU doesn't have a green.
I mean, I think, Lenore Stellers is talented, but he isn't Green either. Like, Green's top end speed, that dude looks like Michael Johnson running the curve sometimes. Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, he can go. He can go for sure.
Mark?
We had played Auburn, terrible offense, not hard to defend. We had played Florida, not a great scheme, not hard. And going into this, Petrino is high level. He knows how to put you in a bind. Oh, you don't want to play man? I'm going to run that crossing route across. I'm going to double protect everything. We're going to drag a guy across your zone and dump it to him, and he's an athlete. Oh, so, you're going to play man. Okay, well, then I've got stuff for that too. He was really good at it. So what's the next?
Mm-hmm.
He is.
Yeah.
And
last but not least, I wanted to share this 4th and 5 play where I gotta say this. I just have screenshots for this one, but like anybody else we play this year that's put into this screenshot besides probably Taylon Green is in trouble. But this turned into a plus 49 yard scramble. So you'll see right there. We talked about this prior to
and
it.
We're down on the goal line here too, aren't we?
Yeah, they're backed up. This is 4th and 5. This is the ball game. This is the ball game. And even in that position there, and really, me and Mark talked about it prior to hitting record earlier about, Dan Hayes, field side contain rush, and he just gets outran. It's as simple as that. It really did. If you watch this play, Green looks like a 200 or 400 guy running the curve. Just runs the curve around the defense and ends up with a plus 49. But that's a play that if we have that set up this Saturday night, that's not going to end with a plus 49 yard scramble. So
no, it's maybe a safety.
Hayes' shoulders are in a bad. You never, as a defensive lineman, want your shoulders to be turned like that. You want them to be square. Then once the linebacker, or I guess that's our D tackle, 5, is that who that is? Once he comes, Hicks is on a loop stunt. He comes free.
No,
he's
Hicks. He's a
quarterback turns
tackle,
to run to me as a contained guy. I just want to maintain I need my shoulder square first. Then I need to keep my cushion. I need to stay wider than him. I don't need to make the tackle necessarily. If I can just get him to cut upfield, then he'll get caught. But I'm going to pick on coaches, and I hate to do this, and I'm not the guy that has to get to Kyle Field at 5 a.m, and I'm not the guy whose butt's on the line, and I'm not in the office. But if it's me, and we're probably playing man behind this, is my guess, since he ran for that far. You need a guy who's trained in pulling a quarterback up, and that always is your Mike and Will. Your Mike and Will are always trained that I'm a pull-up guy. So you either need a spy that's a pull-up guy at this point to make everything right. He's that athletic. So, you run this and you have a safety dropped in the middle as a spy. he keeps this, even if they get a first down, it's at the 12-yard line. You can live to fight another down. So we put, yes, he could have done some things better as a defensive end, and they'll train him on that about getting his right foot needs to be in the ground, his shoulders need to be square, and he needs to maintain his cushion to get that quarterback to cut back inside to his help. We'll teach the defensive tackle to come to balance a little bit better. But again, I think I would reevaluate my plan. So Elko can be mad at the players because they made a lot of mistakes. But he needs to be mad at his defensive people that put this scheme together, and he needs to tell them they have to do better for the kids. It's on everybody. You want a culture that is we're together. Well, here's the deal. When we're together, it's the coach's fault and it's the player's fault. We could have put you in a better position, and you should have done better at your technique.
Ownership.
And we're going to work on both. We're going to come up with a better plan for running quarterbacks. We're going to come up with better technique. We're going to come up with teaching you how to do things when you get in a bind, teaching you how to fit the run. We're going to work on those things, but it's on all of us. And that's the approach that I would take on this film. Is I would say, guys, it's okay. We're 7-0, and the biggest part of our year is bonus. We don't have to be great here, but we need to fix this. We as coaches need to fix how we call it. You as players need to fix your technique and your fits, and we're going to get better as we go, and we're going to move forward. We're not going to be unhappy about it. I'm telling you right now, I've been there as a coach. Watching this film is not for the soft-hearted because position coaches are getting called out. The head coach is on the defensive coordinator. The coaches are on the kids. But you got to maintain the fact that, hey, it's all bad. It's all negative. But Scott Surratt preached this to me. We're going to stay positive. Yeah, if you need to fire a kid and put a different kid in there, that's fine. But be positive about it. Be positive around your kids. Take some ownership. Have some humility. Be positive and move forward to the next week. And again, I'll see anybody on our schedule other than that guy that was overhyped in Central Texas that can put you in a bad position like Taylon Green. But we can find to fix it. Let's get better this week. Let's get better at what we do this week, and let's go to Baton Rouge.
Well, the good thing is I don't think there's going to be any doubt. There's plenty of ownership from our coaches. I'm sure there's plenty of that going on. And so I have full belief that they'll do what they need to do. But yeah, I had a talk about that exact subject with somebody the other day, Mark, about Scott Surratt taught me some very important lessons about staying positive in tough situations. So I agree with you on that. But,
sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to the good and the bad and the ugly on offense. And thank goodness on my side of the ball, it's a whole lot of good. I mean, it really is. It's a whole lot of good on my side. So, to me, this was Reed's best game. Had the highest completion percentage, accounted for over 300 yards, 280 through the air, 55 on the ground. Should have been over 100 on the ground, but those excellent SEC officials called a hold. Anyway, accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 through the air, 1 on the ground, and no turnovers. So man, I thought it was really, really good. The most exciting thing to me, and I know everyone wants him to hit the deep balls. Everybody, he overthrows the deep balls. And there's one thing I wanted him to do, and you've heard me on previous podcasts, is utilize the checkdowns. Utilize the checkdowns, because the main thing for Reed to be able to do all the wonderful things we want and know he can do, the first thing he's got to do is be on the field and stay healthy. And so that's why there's times to use his legs, but it scares me every time because I want him there for all 12 games. So this is the first one. If you'll run it on replay there, I guess I didn't set it up. That's my fault. It's a check down to Daniels. And it's just real simple. He starts to run and he sees Daniels. He drops it off. Daniels picks up the first down. And what gets me excited about both of these is watch how these running backs finish these runs. Okay. And I think early in the season, Moss was interviewed and they asked him, would you, after your injury last year at South Carolina, would you run out of bounds? And he said, no, I'm a man. And I love that response. But if you look at Daniels on this one, and we're going to show another one with Smith, both of those guys finish runs. Okay, he could have stepped out of bounds. He'd have still got the first down there, but no, he wanted to make sure that that young man remembered him. And the next time he had the ball and was coming at him, I bet that young man would not have quite the ambition he was showing here. So this is the first check down. If you go to the other one here, this is later in the game. You can see he looks through, drops it down, and watch Smith finish this. Boom. I mean, he initiates the contact there. So I know that we've talked about with Moss being out, how much it hurts, because Moss is a big part of the offense, no doubt. But I was talking to Seth earlier on the phone, man. What's got me excited is, you've got Owens progressing, getting better. You've got Daniels running physical. You've got Smith running physical. You got Morrow running physical. And with the weapons we got on the outside, man, it just gets me so excited to see how these guys finish behind their pads. And you always talk about that running back that finishes moving forward, finishes going forward, and that's what these guys are doing. So that's what I've got, Seth. What you got on the good, bad, and the ugly, boss?
Yeah, man, it's the
Or
same
on the
thing.
good,
Like
sorry.
we talked about last week that I think I said that was the best physical throwing of a football game I remember Marcel having was a week ago, but there were some mental lapses. And this week, he kept that physical throwing prowess intact. I mean, there's a couple of bad balls, but like to expect a quarterback to not have one or two is crazy. And but the mental side of it was so much better, like you said, with the checkdowns. And I just happened to start digging, and I looked up targets share per week on a percentage basis. And if you'll see right there, last 2 weeks was his the highest amount of percentage targets of the running backs and the tight ends. And what that tells us, I mean, that's data to back up what our eyes tell us,
Yep.
that he is taking the check down, he is progressing the pass plays, the passing concepts, and taking what the defense gives him, and that is so cool. Like the average on the first 6 games, or the first 6 games, the average was 25%. The first 5 games week 1 through 6, 25% of the time the running back and tight end was targeted. It's actually more like 24. And then this past week, with those two last 2 weeks combined to be 39% on average. So that is something that's noticeable on film. Data backs it up. Here we are. This guy's growing up. His mental side of it is getting there. And to use the golf analogy I used with Ruben Owens last week, I thought, why not just keep leaning on these golf analogies? If you've ever played golf with somebody who's like a scratch golfer, you think when you get in the cart with them and play 18 holes, you're like, man, I'm going to see some amazing stuff. I'm going to see a guy drive the green. I'm going to see somebody chip it in.
Yep.
But usually at the end of the day, it's just boring. They hit the fairway, they're on the green and reg, they 2-putt, move on to the next hole. Every now and then they get themselves in trouble, and what do? Hit a great wedge, and then save par like that. Or every now and then they may put 1 or 2 good shots around where you're like, wow, that was incredible. But it's not just 18 holes of just incredible Tiger Woodsian, Bryson DeChambeau monster drives. It's kind of boring, and it just is one after the other.
Yeah, it's the old adage of, you drive for show and you putt for dough.
Right.
So it's great to hit those big shots. Don't get me wrong. Do I want to overthrow KC or Craver? No, I want us to hit those shots. But if we can consistently hit the underneath when it's there,
yes,
all of a sudden those become even more open, and now we're in a rhythm, and you probably have a better chance of hitting those. So, yeah,
one
100%.
of my favorite, and the concepts too. Like this concept that I have here. Well, it's not playing. Oh, there it goes. Okay, is simple. This was a 3rd and 2 early in the game. It's simple, just on time, hit the first down. And it's, I mean, I know this is probably one of the least flashy pass plays of the game, but to me, this is so good because this is not, some of the like the double clutching and stuff we saw earlier. That ain't even happening.
It was,
Yeah. And then I like the design of this concept too, because the timing of the man beaters, you got the man beater at the bottom, but then you've got the tight end man beaters, the shallow crosses up top, and those are timing up a little separately. Yeah. So sometimes last year especially, we kind of picked on some of the timing of concepts and things, and I was like, what a double positive to bring into this of Marcel just being decisive, mentally playing the game properly, but also this concept is just set up to succeed either way. If they end up covering the out route down below really well, then he can just drop back down to the or work the tight end up top right after that. So that was good, and just a culture thing. Like we're 7-0. with these games where one side of the ball hasn't quite played to the standard, right? And instead of being 5-2 and having to coach off those where it got us a couple of times, when you're 7-0 and you can coach off those, you can coach a lot harder. I know we've talked to that multiple times, but you can really it's backwards from how most people think of it. You want to coach as positive as possible off of a loss and still correct things, but on a win, you can be a little more critical. You can be a little more grind,
and to put it in a little bit of high school perspective, I know this hits for Mark because he's still in Carthage, but Carthage has kind of set the tone, in my opinion, especially in East Texas, but you could argue statewide, as the premium high school program consistently winning state titles. And
Absolutely.
even when I was there, we had off games or whatever, and Mark will tell you this last week, they won a high-scoring game, very similar to the Arkansas A&M game. They beat Athens, I think it was 61-56 or some crazy deal. And look, Darren Preston's still a heck of a defense coordinator. Having a one bad game doesn't make you a bad defense coordinator. But a lot of the things Mark was talking about, I guarantee you Darren's doing the same thing. I guarantee you Darren's self-assessing his calls and his ideas more than he's assessing the kids and then now he's going to go back in there and he's going to correct it. But, yeah.
I mean,
I can't believe you can lift all those rings with those arms.
They have a lot of work to do, and and it's the same thing though. They're not going to place anybody that's that good on offense for a long time, and so they got a lot to fix, but they got time to fix it, and it's like eating an elephant. You just got to do it one bite at a time until you have the whole elephant be.
That's right. So my bad.
That's the mark of it. Yeah. Because Elko made a big point about how the offense never gave that's okay. Elko made a big point about how the offense never gave the ball back to the defense with Arkansas having the capability of taking the lead. It was always a two-score possession, and that is huge. That is,
yes.
I mean, we can do the metrics and EPA per play and all that, but that is, when you are playing defense with a two-score lead, that's just different than it is when you're not.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, my bad was the penalties. We had a slight increase from the previous week. It's still not as bad as the first 5 games.
No.
So I will take it.
Yeah.
It was 67 yards. Had one pre-snap as a false start on the first drive. Had some holding calls, which I still, especially the one that Reed took off, that anyway. But we still got to keep our eye on that. Got to keep those down. So that was my bad. Seth, what'd you have, boss?
Yes, same, man. That's the holding calls. I mean, the one with Craver, I actually love seeing a receiver get a holding call. I don't love it, but I like that.
At least he's giving effort.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to win. We've had that rushing touchdown, and that was Reed with a 55-yard. He's 9 for 111 rushing. If that gets to stand, and kind of has a big, you know what I mean? Like that was 52 to 35 at that point or something like that's and that was so soft. It was the softest.
Yeah.
I like these referees just have something about. We got to erase this explosive play.
We got to keep it close. Got to keep it close.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And I'm not a big ref basher, but and they aren't either. Play the next play. It is what it is. But in hindsight, I'm like, I hate that they took that moment away from him. That's what I hate more than anything else. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't have an ugly because Mark had plenty of ugly to deal with this week. So right. I'm just going to let that go. And I am just very thankful that we pulled that game out. Yeah, I'm very thankful that we pulled that game out, and I'm very thankful that I don't think we're facing near the explosive offense this week that we had this last week. So, moving on to the LSU defense, they run a 4-2-5 or base have a 4-2-5. Now, I will tell you against Vandy, when they would go, if they had more than one tight end in the game, which a lot of times Vandy does, their offense personnel-wise is similar to ours. I wouldn't say their schemes but personnel-wise they're similar. They would roll a third linebacker in there and go to kind of more of a base 4-3. So I expect us to see some of that. Statistically, their defense is very solid. Third in scoring defense in the SEC and 5th in total defense in the SEC. What I'm more concerned about is just the environment. I think we're the better team. I think we're going to, personnel-wise, coaching-wise, I think we're the better team. I mean, heck, I'm pretty sure LSU is trying to figure out how to ship Kelly up to Penn State as soon as they can. But I don't think Penn State's going to take that.
Yeah.
but we haven't. So here's two things: we have not been 7-0 since 1994. We have also not won in Baton Rouge since 1994. So I'm hoping that maybe we're just going to break a couple streaks here. But it's going to be a tough environment. They're not overly successful getting to the quarterback. They only have 17 sacks through 7 games. Only had 1 sack against Vandy, but I will say Vandy's offensive line is really good. And they have a positive turnover ratio as a defense or as a team, but you also got to remember that Napier gave them 5 INTs in 1 game. So I don't know if you take on average, I'm not sure they would be positive on turnovers. They do like to run with a too high safety look when they can get away with it, but when you start gashing them for in the run game, they do like to roll one of them down and kind of stack the box a little bit there. So they did give up about 240 yards on the ground to Vandy this last week, so I do think we can get to them in the run game, and I think that's going to be really important because I think we've talked about it before, but there's nothing more demoralizing to another team than for me to know I'm going to run it, you to know I'm going to run it, and you still can't stop it. So some crowd control and some things of that nature. I think a run game's really important to that. So defensive line, what I saw was their best D lineman's number 90. He's a 5th-year senior. And their best edge guy is a transfer from Florida, number 44. But neither one. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about them because their defense has done well. I just don't see. I don't see. If you look back at LSU's defense under previous regimes, dude, they'd hit you in the mouth. They were physical. They were tough. And their front seven, I don't see that same physicality. Not saying they're not good. They're not solid. But I just don't think they're nearly as physical as what LSU is traditionally known to be up front, is what I'm seeing. Now, their linebackers, in my opinion, is the best unit on the defense. Their number one kind of team captain guy, Whit Weeks, was first team All SEC last year. He's preseason first team All SEC. Now he was out last week with an ankle injury. I hope he rests it this week so that he can be fully healthy to go to Bama. But if he's out there, he's a pretty good player. And then if you've been following A&M for any amount of time, you should know who Harold Perkins is. He was a commit for a long time, flipped to LSU, extremely athletic, very, very fast, and very effective on third downs and blitzing situations. So if we're in third down, we better know where 7 is at all times. But outside of that, that's what I see out of the linebackers. Secondary, I don't know. I mean, they've got some guys. They're all transfers back there. The one safety transferred from Houston. One of the corners transferred from North Carolina, and they're okay. I don't think they're better than the blanket. So I think their strength is their linebackers. And I think if we'll line up and run the ball, I think we can pretty much do what we want offensively. Not saying, I mean, don't get me wrong. Their defense is much better than Arkansas's defense, obviously.
Yes.
But they're not. Like I said, 5 years ago when we played, every time A&M would line up against them, I was like, holy smokes, we're playing grown men on that side of the ball.
Mhm.
And I just don't, I don't see that same physicality from them. So, Seth, what are you seeing on that side?
You nailed it. I always try to say, like, what does this game feel like of games we've played before? And to me, this feels like playing Auburn again a little bit. Obviously, the offense is a little different with Nuss at quarterback versus Arnold, but generally speaking, their offensive scheme doesn't scare me like when you watch Levy's Mississippi State teams, you're like, that guy's gonna get something on you on offense. You watch Petrino, he's gonna get you on offense, and Taylor Green special. But you watch LSU's offense and you watch their whole team, and it just reminds me a little bit of Auburn. And really, if you look at the scores, it's very similar. It's just Auburn's lost those games. Like it's all like they're on the winning side of 20-10 and stuff like that, and where Auburn's been on the losing side of those. Defensively, one of the things I always like to do, because you really do such a good job of scouting personnel, is I go back and watch explosive plays. Like, what have they been giving up? What's the trend? And it's really a mixed bag of things where, like we saw against Auburn, gave up a lot to the slot. It's kind of a mixed bag. Pavia hit him with his legs. The tight ends created some explosive plays against them from whenever they were playing Vanderbilt. If you go back to Ole Miss primarily hit them on the pass, various things. They threw it to the corners have been burned a couple times. South Carolina had an explosive run that nearly went for about 50 yards early in the game before it was kind of a catch-up affair. But anyway, it's a mixed bag of things. And to me, when I watch them, they don't look they look like they have a little bit more coverage bust opportunities than like somebody like Auburn was going to give us if we can catch it. If we can catch it. There are some times where they do have guys running. Vanderbilt missed a couple where they had completely if you just execute the pass, it's a touchdown. And so anyway, I do see some of that. I do see why they're pretty good. Like you said, if your best unit is the linebacker, they can kind of glue that defense together, right? Like they can, because that's what they are. They're that's kind of like being strong up the middle in baseball, or softball. Like you can glue a team together if you're strong up the middle. It's kind of what linebackers do. So anyway, yeah, that's what I see too. Is there's potential there, and it's a mixed bag on how they get got. But usually it's because the linebackers have been taken out of the play is how they.
And I see your analogy with Auburn on the defense. I just think Auburn's more physical. I agree. On the defensive front,
I think they're sounder. I think they're a little bit more sound up front, just in general, from back to front. So, yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, Mark, what do you got on this offense here from LSU?
And after a brief break in the action, thanks to the City of Champions internet connection, we rejoin the regularly scheduled podcast right in the middle of coaching carousel talk.
Mark, you think they can get better than James Franklin, and they're going after Matt Rule at Nebraska? I don't think that's a step up from Franklin, in my opinion, but that's just my.
That was always the fallback plan. Yeah,
it's the same thing. They're trading one for another.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, why pay the $50 million? I mean, I get it. You want to win a national title, but he was winning 10 games a year. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
there's going to be a lot of people that are worse off.
Yeah. And if Niffen goes to Florida, there'll be an upgrade, but what's Ole Miss going to do?
Hire James Franklin.
There you go. Old domino. Everybody just shuffling the cards. Here we go.
Somebody needs to hire the guy at South Florida.
Yeah. He'd be somebody that'd be
another sneaky one is the New Mexico guy. I think he's a good one. I think everybody's gonna be looking for that next Signetti, So that's he's got that pedigree a little bit.
I'll tell you who that is. I'll tell you who the next guy is that's like that is Eric Morris at Denton at North Texas.
True.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
Yeah. Just don't let him. Yeah. Don't let him hire a 3-3 stat guy, and you got him.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll have to clean this up, Seth. But Mark, tell us about the LSU offense. What do you see? What do you think?
Well, I had a whole bunch of stuff, but my computer's acting ugly today. But obviously, their quarterback is Nussmeier. He's good. He has less passing yards than Marcel and a lot less rushing yards. He's at 0 for the year. That's because he's been sacked a few times. But he's good. Here's the difference in him. You can make the comparison to Auburn's offense because the offense is very simple like Auburn's, but they have a much better quarterback. He gets the ball out quick.
Great.
He knows where he's going.
Yeah.
He knows who's going to be open pre-snap, so he can get the ball out quick. They run a lot of the all hitch stuff where he's just going to throw the 5-yard hitch to keep the pressure from getting to him. They're running lately. They're running a lot of the now concept, tunnel concepts, outside screen, receiver screen type stuff. They're running a lot of that, get the ball out of his hands. The run game is very much what we see from week to week. The counter H with the H back, the split flow zone, the base. They run a lot of base zone, which is very simple. It's just about having good run fits on that. Their offense, if you look at their scores, they don't like to score over 24. That's like, I don't know if it's built in. It's like, look, we're going to score 3 touchdowns and then we're done. That's kind of their thing. They don't, even against Louisiana Tech, they scored 23. I mean, they score against like Southeast Florida School, the blind and deaf, they scored like 53. But other than that, they don't score a lot of points. I don't see them scoring a lot of points. If we clean up some of the things that we cleaned up, we could see some of the Auburn, Mississippi State defense that we saw, the Florida defense that we saw. We could see that again. I really feel like we should be expecting to hold them to 2 touchdowns. That should be the goal for our defense. Hold their offense to 2 touchdowns. Don't turn the ball over and be efficient enough on offense to win. I think that should be the plan. Their running backs are okay. They're not great. We've faced running backs from other places that didn't score on us that were averaging over 5 yards a carry. Neither one of their guys is averaging over 5 yards a carry. Their O-line is okay. They're not great. I don't think they're as good as Auburn's O-line. I don't think they're as good as Florida's O-line. They're really bad in pass protection. They don't do a lot of stuff to help them in pass protection. They'll still run the typical big on big pass protection, and the pocket gets squeezed on that guy. His answer to it is to get the ball out quick. It starts to squeeze down on him, he's letting it go. So it'll force him into some bad throws. He's not going to make as many bad throws as Lagway. Lagway was real good about that. Hey, the pocket's squeezing in, I'm going to let it go. But he would let it go and it'd be a bad pass to a wide open guy, even. Nussmeier's guys are good at receiver. They're good at the 50-50 balls. They don't run a lot of the deep vertical stuff that they could because of their pass protection. I'm thinking, they're going to try to run the ball on us, keep the ball away from our offense, and try to win a ball game like 24-21 is what I think LSU's plan will be. They've got to find a win. This is a scary situation for them. They lose this game and they are out of the playoffs, and the talk will begin to bring Coach O back. Coach O, yeah, let's bring him back. He better. The South Louisiana people are going to kick in if they lose this game, so their backs are against the wall. Of course, they gave LSU a night game because they give LSU more night games than anybody. They get 83% of their SEC games are at night at home, and everybody else is sitting around 48 to 53% at night games at home. But they're always going to give Baton Rouge the night game because it looks good on TV. It brings a lot of ratings, and every TV in the state of Louisiana will be tuned in on Saturday night after a day of hydrating. And so they give it to them. It's going to be a tough atmosphere, a tough place to play, a place we haven't been historically great. The whole thing reminded me of being ranked in the top 10 in 86 and going down there to play them. It was early in the year, and Kevin Murray threw like 4 interceptions. And I just remember it was 21-17, and we're driving to go take the lead against LSU in Death Valley. And Murray throws a pick, and the guy runs it back into our red zone, and the place went nuts. It was loud. And so it's a tough atmosphere, so I worry about that. I don't worry about their offense as much as they're not going to do to us what Petrino did. It's very vanilla. They have a good quarterback. So it's like Auburn with a good quarterback. That's the best thing I can explain it to you. I feel like we should be able to hold them down. We cannot turn the ball over against these guys. Do not give these guys an inch.
Now, I will tell you this, Mark. I agree with you. You can't turn the ball over, but they beat Florida 20-10 at home at night, and Lagway threw 5 picks. One of them was a pick 6. So their offense scored 13 points off of 4 other interceptions. So, anyway,
significant development, though, on the offensive line, Mark, is that in the Vanderbilt game, their left tackle went down. Their all-conference center, number 79, DJ Chester, got moved out to left tackle, and he looked like an interior lineman playing tackle. He's not used to being out in space like that. And so where Vanderbilt kind of slowly figured out, we can really bull rush this guy. We can really just put this guy in a blender. Now that's on film. I would be shocked if he plays left tackle against us. I think they're going to figure something else out. But obviously they think a lot of that kid. He's an all-conference center. They think we're just going to put our best guy out there and do the best we can. But, that's going to be a significant development to watch on Friday. Who plays left tackle? Is it Chester?
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of film out there on what you can do with him.
Yeah, no doubt.
So one thing I would say, it was in my notes, their offensive line has been banged up all year. There's a lot of mix and matching going on even before that Vanderbilt game. And if I look at film, Vanderbilt's D-line absolutely annihilated them. 4 guys rushing 5, and they won almost every time. So, yeah, they're banged up. They don't have people playing in the right positions. There is no reason why we don't eat their lunch like we did against Mississippi State and Auburn. No reason why
I
it
agree.
shouldn't look
I
like
just
that.
I'm with you, Mark. I 100% agree. We should win this game. It just, man, going in there at night is not
Sure.
easy.
Absolutely. I mean, you can. That's where you beat yourself. You know, like we're looking
Yes.
at this from a like. This is still when you get to the level A&M has. It's about you. It's not. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, the LSU external environment that's going to affect. How does that affect us? That's what's more important than necessarily LSU.
This is going to be a great indicator of we talk about culture a lot. This is going to be a great indicator of our culture because
yes.
that you're
Yes.
100% right, Seth. And you hear the kids talk about it, you hear Elko talk about it, and you always do as a coach. You say it's about us. It's not about who we're playing. It's about us. And
Yes.
this is a good. Have we really arrived at that point where it is about us? So,
Yeah, and on that note, yeah, there's something I think is a narrative here that it's very important or it's not important, but it's super interesting how this woven tale got us to this very week. Is if you look at like Clark-Lee, if you watch Vanderbilt's defense, it looks like us. It looks like A&M. And there's a reason for that. If you don't know, Clark-Lee was hired twice by Mike Elko in kind of a job-saving situation. So let me give you the timeline real quick. Clark-Lee is hired. He's working at UCLA under Neuheisel. 2011 is an awful year. Neuheisel gets fired. UCLA hires Jim Mora Jr., who's going to bring an NFL staff to UCLA. Well, guess what? Clark-Lee's coaching linebackers. He knows I'm out. So he's in a Power 5 conference already, and he needs a lifeline. So 2012, that offseason, he gets hired by the defensive coordinator at Bowling Green. So he's taking a step back, Power 5 down to the MAC, right? To coach linebackers, and that defensive coordinator at Bowling Green was Mike Elko, 2012. He coaches 1 year for Mike Elko at Bowling Green, and then he goes to Syracuse, back to the Power 5, right, to coach linebackers again. And guess what happens 3 years later? They go 4-8. Syracuse head coach gets fired. He's back on the market. Everybody's cut, and he gets hired again at Wake Forest by the defensive coordinator, Mike Elko, to coach linebackers. Now, this time he stuck around and worked for Mike Elko that year. And then 2017, Brian Kelly is coming off of a 4-8 season at Notre Dame. The defensive play was awful. He hires Mike Elko out of Wake Forest. Elko brings Clark-Lee with him to Notre Dame. They renovate, they renaissance the defense. Kelly goes 10-3, saves his job. The next year, Jimbo Fisher hires Mike Elko to be the defensive coordinator, and Brian Kelly promotes Clark-Lee from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Now, we are in 28, we're at 2018 at this point. Brian Kelly's next few years and Jimbo Fisher's next few years lead them to where they are, well, what they got around 2021. Big extensions. Brian Kelly signed at LSU, and Clark-Lee gets in 2021. He gets hired to be the head coach at Vanderbilt. So long story short, this is an interwoven tale of two guys that have a long history. And if you don't think that coaches don't talk on the phone about opponents, you're wrong about that. So these guys have a very similar defensive thought process and modality. So that is just another green check mark on the fact that we get to play them right off of Vanderbilt. And Clark is going to give everything to Coach Elko that he had. That's just how that works,
100%.
And the coaches understand that too. Like you might think, well, wow, that's not very ethical. No, that's just how it works. Like look, Clark-Lee got hired twice out of the scrap heap by Mike Elko, saved his career essentially, right? He knows that. And now he's the head coach at Vanderbilt at his alma mater and on top of the world at Vanderbilt. And I have one more question to bring up about this. This makes me laugh is how much money did Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly make off of Clark-Lee and Mike Elko? That is those guys better be getting the Christmas cards from them.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, had Clark not been able to turn around Vanderbilt the way he has, which is a credit to him,
Absolutely.
he very likely would be our defense coordinator right now.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
all right. So moving on to game predictions. This one's tough. Our defense did struggle last week. We haven't won in Baton Rouge in over 30 years. But I have faith in Elko, and I have faith in this team. And I know I picked this as a loss in the preseason. Of course, I picked Notre Dame as a loss too, and they proved me wrong. So I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna go down there, and I think we're gonna win 20-10. That's gonna be my prediction. I think we get a 2-score win in Baton Rouge. I just don't think their offense is good enough to score on our defense consistently, and I think our offense can ground and pound and do a lot of good things. So that's my prediction. Mark, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm going to give Baton Rouge. I'm going to give them 7 points. Just the atmosphere. I've been there. I've been on the sideline. I've walked out of that visitor locker room with a live freaking tiger in a cage right next to you. 10-year-old kids yelling at you the things you couldn't tell to your mother. I've been there. I've been at 7:00 kickoffs at Baton Rouge where we had to go to the stadium at 8 in the morning to plug in headsets back in the day, and they're already grilling and hydrating. So I'm going to give them 7 points for that, but I have the Aggies coming out a win. I think the Aggies win 24-21, late touchdown, big stop at the end, and we exercise those demons to go 8-0.
All right, Seth, what's your prediction, boss?
First off, I'm gonna be there. So if you're there, us Aggies got to run tight. Come say hi or howdy, I mean, and let's keep each other from getting assaulted. I'm gonna think that I almost want to pick. I'm badly wanting to pick that we're gonna beat them by like 17-ish or more, but I think
Sure.
I do think that we're going to scheme up a big turnover, just because of the situation where we can put Nuss under pressure and we know where he's going to go and rob it. You know what I mean? When I'm talking about Coach Brown, like I think this is the type of situation where Elko's going to force Nussmeier. You're an NFL prospect, well, you're about to make some NFL throws, big boy, over and over again, like he did, which Lagway connected on early, same game plan kind of. And we'll see where it goes from now. I'm going to predict 30-20 because I do think with Marcel's way he's playing, here's why. Initially, I was like, we're probably not going to score very much. It's a tough environment. Their defense is pretty good. But I almost think that the way the game turned out for the offense last week was kind of awesome because it was a sleepy rain environment, and then it turned into an SEC night game like that right before half. And they had to take the ball under pressure and go score multiple times. And I know Arkansas's defense is bad. I get that. But that showed me some maturity and some growth out of Marcel and the offense to just be like, hey, let's go do this thing. We've got to go give the ball back to the defense with a 2-score lead. And I think we can, especially if we get up on them early, man, that could be bad. That could be real bad for because I don't think they have the capability of quick strike like Arkansas did. So I'm going to go 30-20, and I almost want to go lower for LSU, but I'll stick with that 30-20. I'd be very satisfied with that.
Okay. Well, my prediction of player of the game, and I hate it, man, because this is Le'Veon Moss had to be dreaming about this game all summer.
Yeah.
It's your senior year. You get to go back into Louisiana. You got a team that can beat them. This is a game that Moss could have probably went for over 150 on. I feel for that kid. But my player of the game is the running back room. I'm not going to pick one of them because I think we're going to utilize all of them. But after seeing Daniels, it's hard because I do have confidence in Owens, and I like to see what he can do. And I think the more you give him, the more he's going to grow. But, dude, the way Smith and Daniels finish those runs and all the flash that Morrow has shown so far, that running back room is going to be big. We're going to run for over 200 yards, and they're going to get 2 touchdowns between them. That's my prediction. Mark, what you got for player of the game?
It's hard because our interior D-line's done so well at some things, and I'd like to pick one of them, but they're not flashy guys, but they're going to allow Cassius Howe to get a big play. I think it'll be, like you said, it'll be maybe a 1-score game, and Cassius Howe's going to have a big sack and cause a fumble, and that's going to be the backbreaker for LSU. So I'm going to go with Cassius Howe. He's my guy. I think if I'm an NFL GM and I need an edge rusher, he's the first guy on the block that I'm going to look at. I think he's worked his way up into that 12-17 draft, first-round draft status, and so I'm going to go with Cassius.
Hey, just
doing
a
too
little
many
nugget
things
to throw in there. Yeah, just throw a little nugget in there. My boy Marcus Jones, who I bragged on last week, he doesn't look like a normal. He got his first sack last week against Arkansas, so just want to throw that little nugget in there. I'm pulling for my boy. So, all right, Seth, who's your
He's
player
good,
of the
man.
game?
I'm gonna really cop out here and do 33 percentages. 33% Marcel Reed's legs. It's time to turn him loose. I get it. You know, longevity. I told you about there's some decisions Elko makes that's short-term sample size, frustrating. Long-term for a good reason. Well, this is one of those games where it's time to let it rock. Like don't hold the kid back on using his legs to move the sticks or give us an extend the play, whatever. Concepcion, because when you're going to go into the Lions den or the Tigers den, you want your dogs. Like who's the dog? Dog against dogs, and Concepcion is a dog.
Absolutely.
And so he's going to probably give us a couple of good plays. Like he's going to be the guy who converts for us on some big drive on a third down on a jet sweep or something like that. And then the 33%, if the defensive staff, I'll say they're the player of the game. They can scheme us up a turnover. If I knew that right now, they were going to scheme Nuss into throwing us the ball for sure one time, I would feel pretty dang good about our odds there. So that's my big three. Player
He
of the
schemed it
games.
up last year, if I remember, through was
They
it
did.
3 picks
They
in
did.
the second half? Me and old Seth
Yep.
were at that game together. So
Yes, we
and
were.
Mark. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in once again. If you will share, like, subscribe,
Yes,
like I said, it
please.
was awesome last week, getting 200 or over 200 subscribers. But we need your help to do that. So if you will please do that, we would appreciate it. But this is Trace Amigos signing out. Thanks and gig 'em.
There you go.
Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned sheriff.